The sky above the burned alien village was gray, covered with smoke. The ground was black with ash. Buildings stood half destroyed. Some were only piles of rock and melted metal. There was no sound except the wind and the slow steps of someone walking alone. A human warrior named Jace stepped into the ruins. He was tall, strong, with armor that had seen many battles. His helmet was scratched, and dust covered his boots. On his back was a heavy rifle, but his hand stayed close to the small blade at his side. He didn't trust this place. Not yet. This village was once home to peaceful alien families. Then the war came. Humans and alien rebels fought here, one of many battles across the galaxy. Now only survivors remained, hiding in fear. Jace had come as part of a peace mission to help rebuild what the war destroyed. He wasn't sure why he agreed to this mission. He didn't like alien places. He didn't like children crying or mothers begging for food. He liked fighting. That was what he understood. That was what he was made for. Still, something about this village felt different. As he walked past a broken fountain, he noticed a group of aliens watching him from a distance. Tall, thin beings with pale green skin and wide silver eyes. Some held small children. Others looked too weak to stand. They didn't cheer. They didn't smile. They only watched him, careful and quiet. Jace stopped. He didn't speak. He waited. Then, from behind the group, a tall female alien stepped forward. She was beautiful, even with dust on her face. Her eyes were soft, but they held pain. Her hair, if it could be called hair, was long and dark, tied in braids that fell down her back. Two small children followed close behind her, one holding her dress, the other holding something in his small hand. The woman walked straight to Jace. The silence was heavy. Every eye was on them. Then she spoke. "I know who you are," she said. Her voice was smooth, but strong. "You came back." Jace looked at her. He didn't recognize her. He had never seen her before, or had he? "I don't know you," Jace replied. She nodded. "Your mind was changed. Your past was taken, but your heart remembers." Jace raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" The woman took a deep breath. Then, in front of everyone, she said the words that would change everything. "Human warrior, will you be my husband?" Gasps spread across the crowd. A child dropped his bowl. An elder covered her mouth. Even the wind seemed to pause. Jace stared at her. "What?" She didn't blink. "I ask you to become my husband. Not for love, not for power, but because you already saved me once. Because my children need you. Because you are the one we've waited for." Jace laughed a little, confused. "Lady, I don't even know your name." "My name is Villari," she said, "and you once gave me hope when I had nothing." The little boy beside her stepped forward and opened his hand. In his palm was a glowing pendant, a silver chain with a strange round object at the center. It was old, scratched, but still shining. Jace's heart stopped. On the pendant was a small faded symbol, the Earth emblem. Jace took a step forward, staring at it. His hands began to shake. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice low. "My son found it in his father's old box," Villari said. "But that man was not his real father. That man found the pendant beside a human who was dying. A man who looked like you." Jace's mind began to spin. No, this couldn't be. That pendant, it belonged to someone he once knew. Someone he had lost in the war. Someone who wore it every day. His brother. "I buried my brother with that," Jace whispered. Villari looked at him. "You didn't bury him. Not truly. You forgot him. They made you forget." A flash of heat ran through Jace's head. He winced. A sound, like a scream, echoed in his mind for 1 second, then disappeared. "Who made me forget?" he growled. Villari didn't answer. Instead, she kneeled in front of him and placed her hand over her heart. "I do not ask you for love," she said. I ask for your protection. For my children. For this village. The war took everything from us. But if you stay, you might give us a future. The boy stepped closer and held out the pendant to Dace. He hesitated. His hand reached forward. The moment he touched it, FLA-ish. A memory burst in his brain. A field. Screams. A woman crying. A child reaching for him. And his brother's voice. Promise me. Protect them if I fall. Jace pulled his hand back. The glow faded. His breathing grew heavy. What was happening to him? Valerie stood. You don't have to answer now, she said. But the past will find you. And when it does, I hope you choose us. She turned and walked away, the children following behind her. Jace stood there, frozen. The crowd slowly began to whisper again, then disappeared into the ruins. He looked at the pendant still in his hand. The earth symbol stared back at him like an old friend. He wasn't sure what to believe. He wasn't sure what to feel. But deep inside his chest, something moved, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. He looked up. Valerie was watching him from a distance. Her eyes didn't beg. They waited. Jace didn't know if he could be a husband. But something told him. He had already been one. And he had already lost them once. Would he lose them again? The wind picked up. And far, far away, something else was watching. A machine. A camera. Hidden in the clouds. Beaming everything back to Earth. The fire in Jace's chest didn't go away. It stayed there, burning quietly as he walked through the ruins of the village. His fingers kept closing around the glowing pendant, as if it would stop him from shaking. He had never been afraid of war. Never afraid of bullets, of monsters, of death. But now, he was afraid of the past, because he couldn't remember it. Every time he tried, it was like walking through a fog. Something was there, just out of reach. But the more he chased it, the further it moved away. He sat on a broken stone wall, watching the sky. Above him, strange birds circled in silence. The air was heavy with dust. His eyes followed the broken road that led out of the village. If he wanted to, he could leave. Go back to Vase. Pretend this was all a strange mission gone wrong. But his heart wouldn't let him go. He still saw her face. Valerie. Calm, but full of pain. Brave, but lonely. The way she stood in front of him with her children. Asking not for love, but for a future. Why him? He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like a husband. And yet, that pendant, that memory, that flash of his brother's voice. Jace closed his eyes and leaned his head back. The wind whispered around him. Promise me. The voice again. His brother's. Echoing louder now. He stood quickly. He had to know more. He had to talk to her again. Jace walked through the village, passing small tents, broken homes, and watchful eyes. Some aliens looked at him with fear, others with curiosity. A few whispered as he passed, and one child even pointed at him and said something in a soft alien language. He stopped at a small home made of wood and stone. It looked half-broken, but smoke came from the chimney. He knocked once. The door opened slowly. Valerie stood there, holding a basket of dried roots. She didn't look surprised to see him. You came, she said. I have questions, Jace replied. I thought you might. She stepped aside. He entered. The home was simple. One room, a table, a mat, a fire pit. In the corner were two small beds made of soft moss. Her children were sitting on one, drawing shapes in the dirt with sticks. The younger one looked up and smiled. The older child stared at Jace with wide eyes. Valerie set the basket down and motioned for him to sit. Jace didn't sit. Why do you think I'm someone I don't remember being? Because you are, she said calmly. That's not an answer. Valerie looked at her children, then back at him. Do you remember the Battle of Solara Ridge? She asked. He nodded slowly. I fought there. We lost many. You saved a small alien transport ship that day, one carrying wounded civilians. Do you remember? Jace blinked. No, he didn't. She continued. You were injured during that mission. Badly. Your body was taken by your command. They said you died. But months later, a man who looked like you appeared in our sector, with no memory. He fought like you, spoke like you, saved my life. Jace felt cold. You're saying that was me. I believe it was. But you were changed. You didn't remember anything. You didn't even know your name. Jace backed away a little. His hand touched the pendant in his pocket. You're lying. No, Valerie said, gently now. I wish I was. Jace turned to the kids. They were watching him closely. Why do your children call me father? He asked. Valerie lowered her head. Because they believe you are. And in some way, you are. He shook his head. That's impossible. I would remember. They took your memories, Valerie said. Whoever brought you back, they wiped your mind and sent you to another battlefield. Maybe they thought your old life was a weakness. Jace stared at her. You think the Earth military did this? I don't know who, she said softly, but someone didn't want you to remember us. He sat down finally. His legs felt weak. Valerie reached behind her bed and pulled out a small box. She placed it on the table in front of him. This belonged to the man I called my husband. He died protecting us, but in the final moments, he whispered a name. She opened the box. Inside were pieces of torn cloth, a broken knife, and a letter, old, dirty, but still readable. Jace picked it up. His eyes widened. The writing was his. He knew that handwriting. His own. The letter was short. To whoever finds this, if I don't make it, protect the woman and children. Their names are Valerie, Kilo, and Nera. They saved me. I owe them my life. His hand trembled. This was real. Valerie watched him. Do you remember now? Jace looked at her. No, but my heart does. He stood again and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was turning gold. The sun was setting behind the hills. What happened to my brother? He asked quietly. Valerie joined him at the window. I don't know, she said, but I think he came looking for you, and he left that pendant behind. Maybe he knew you would come back one day. Jace stared at the horizon. Something in him was changing. The fog was still there, but small lights were appearing inside it. Pieces. Feelings. A voice that told him this was right. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside. Shouting. Running. Jace grabbed his rifle and stepped out. Aliens were gathering in the center of the village. A scout was pointing toward the sky. Jace followed the direction. Far above, just at the edge of the clouds, a small blinking light hovered. A drone. Not alien. Not local. It was Earth technology. Jace's heart dropped. They were being watched. And someone somewhere knew he was still alive. The light in the sky blinked again, then disappeared into the clouds. But the fear it left behind stayed in the village. The alien scout turned to Jace. It was Earth tech. That drone. It was watching us. Jace's jaw tightened. He said nothing, but inside, questions screamed. Why now? Why send a drone to this quiet, broken village? Was it because of him? He scanned the sky again, but the drone was gone. Only clouds remained. Back inside Valerie's home, the children sat silently. Valerie held them close, her face calm but her hands shaking. Jace stepped in and locked the door behind him. They know I'm here, he said. Valerie nodded. Then they'll come for you. He looked down at the pendant in his hand, then at the letter he had written years ago, before his mind was wiped, before he became a ghost in his own life. I don't know who I am anymore, he whispered. But I know I won't run again. Valerie looked at him. You're not alone anymore. That night, the village stayed awake. Some patrolled the streets. Others kept children hidden in the caves nearby. There was no music, no laughter, only the sound of weapons being cleaned and doors being locked. Jace didn't sleep. He sat outside Valeri's home, sharpening his blade. The stars above him didn't feel like home. They never had. But this place, this woman, these children, they did. His mind returned to the pendant. His brother's pendant, the last piece of a forgotten past. He wondered what his brother would say now. Would he be proud, or would he be angry that Jace had stayed hidden for so long? Suddenly, a noise broke the silence. A soft crash. Then a scream. Jace jumped to his feet, weapon ready. More screams followed. He ran toward the sound, passing the dark homes, the silent watchers, until he reached the edge of the village. Smoke and fire. One of the homes was burning. The flames lit the night sky in orange and gold. People shouted, trying to put it out with buckets of water and sand. Jace's eyes narrowed. This wasn't an accident. He turned just as a shadow moved behind him. Too fast. He spun around and grabbed the figure by the arm, slamming it against the wall. It was a young alien, masked and armed with a sharp metal blade. A rebel. The alien struggled, hissing in his own language, then spoke in broken English. "You bring danger here. Human must leave." Jace pressed the blade of his own knife against the rebel's neck. "Who sent you?" The rebel laughed. "We don't want you. She does. She chose wrong." Jace's eyes burned. "You hurt anyone else?" "No. Just warning. You don't belong here." A second later, the rebel twisted and broke free, running into the night. Jace chased after him, but lost him in the shadows. When he returned to the burning home, the fire had been controlled, but the damage was clear. One family was injured, an elder and 2 children. Valeri stood nearby, her face pale, her arms crossed tightly. "They blame you," she said softly. Jace looked at the injured children. "They're right." "No," Valeri said. "They fear you. That is not the same." He didn't answer. Later, back inside her home, Valeri helped her children sleep. Jace sat by the window, eyes scanning the dark streets. "You should leave," she said suddenly. He turned to her. "If you stay," she said, "they will keep attacking. They will try to hurt us. You should go back to your people." Jace stood and walked toward her. "I don't even know who my people are anymore." "You're human," she said. "I'm something else now," he replied. She looked into his eyes. "We don't need a hero, Jace," she whispered. "We need someone who won't run." "I'm not running," he said. "Not again." Then, from the corner of the room, the younger child, Kilo, sat up in bed. His eyes were wide. He was holding the pendant. "It glowed again," the boy whispered. Jace walked over and took the pendant. It was warm. Soft light pulsed from the center. Suddenly, a new memory flashed in his mind. A dark room. A scream. Soldiers standing over him. "You don't need the past," one of them said. "Just fight. Forget." Pain shot through his head. Jace dropped the pendant and fell to his knees. Valeri rushed to his side. "What did you see?" They erased me," he gasped. "They took everything. My name, my family, my soul." Valeri placed her hand on his cheek. "You are still here," she said. "I see you." And for the first time, Jace believed her. He looked up. The pendant had stopped glowing, but the warmth in his chest had returned. The boy sat beside him and whispered, "Are you going to stay?" Jace nodded. "Yes," he said. "I'll stay, no matter what comes." Outside, in the shadows beyond the village, the rebel watched from the trees. He spoke softly into a device. "The human has chosen. Begin the next phase." Far away, in deep space, on a ship hidden in silence, a screen lit up. A message appeared. Target confirmed. Send retrieval team. The next morning came too fast. Light broke through the dusty sky, but there was no warmth in it. The village remained quiet, as if everyone was holding their breath. Even the birds didn't sing. Jace opened his eyes and sat up on the hard floor beside the fire pit in Valeri's home. His back ached, but his mind felt sharper than ever. The dreams from the night still lingered, memories that didn't feel like dreams. He remembered faces he didn't recognize, voices calling him by another name, a woman crying, a battle in the dark. Pieces of the puzzle were returning, but they came slowly like water leaking from a cracked pipe, drip by drip. He looked over at the children. They were still asleep, curled up together like pups. Valeri stood near the table, preparing food from dry roots and wild berries. Her hands moved with care. She did everything with care. "You didn't sleep," Jace said. She shook her head. "Mothers don't sleep much." He stood and stretched. "I can take first watch today." "You already did enough," she said. "The villagers told me you stood outside for most of the night." "I couldn't sleep," he replied. She gave a small smile. "I know the feeling." They sat together in silence. No words were needed. The space between them was full of things they didn't say. Memories, pain, questions, and something else too. Something new and quiet. After breakfast, Jace walked through the village with Valeri by his side. Some of the villagers nodded at him now. Some even greeted him. The fear in their eyes had softened, just a little. They had heard what he did the night before, how he stopped the fire, how he caught the rebel. Still, not everyone welcomed him. Old eyes followed him with suspicion. Whispers floated behind his back. "He doesn't belong here. He will bring war again. He's human. He will leave when it gets hard." Jace heard it all, but he didn't react. Instead, he stopped at the village square. There, Jace didn't speak for a moment. Then he pulled the pendant from his pocket and held it out. "This isn't just mine," he said. "It belongs here too." She took it gently, then gave it to her youngest son. The boy smiled and wore it around his neck, proud and glowing. But peace didn't last. Later that day, a stranger entered the village. He was dressed in a traveler's robe, face covered, hands empty. He walked slowly, as if tired, and asked for water. The guards let him in. He sat by the well, drank and rested. Jace watched him from a distance. Something felt off. The man's shoes were too clean. His hands didn't show dirt. And his eyes, when he lifted his hood slightly, they scanned the village too quickly, too carefully. Jace walked over and sat beside him. "You're not from here," he said. The man smiled. "Neither are you." Jace stayed still. "What do you want?" "Just passing through," the man replied. "But I heard a story about a human warrior living among aliens, protecting an alien widow. Sounds like something out of a fairy tale." Jace's hand moved slowly to his blade. The man held up both hands. "Relax. I'm not here to fight. I'm just here to deliver a message." Jace narrowed his eyes. "You have two choices," the man said quietly. "Return to Earth now, or wait for them to take you by force." "I don't answer to Earth anymore," Jace said. The man leaned closer. "They don't care. They see you as a problem, a risk. You were supposed to be dead, remember?" Jace stood. "Leave this village, now." The man rose slowly and gave a small bow. "You've chosen your side. I hope you're ready to fight for it." He walked away without another word. Valeri appeared beside Jace, watching the man leave. Who was he? "Someone who brought a warning," Jace said. "Earth is coming." That night, Jace stayed awake again. He repaired weapons from old scrap, sharpened tools, and helped the village set up defenses. Simple things: tripwires, smoke bombs, alarm signals. He taught them how to watch the sky, how to spot drones, how to hide in silence. Valeri watched him work. "You were a leader once," she said. "Maybe," Jace replied. "But I was also a weapon. Not anymore. He looked at her. You believe in me too easily. She smiled gently. Belief is easy when you've already seen the truth. Later, she showed him something she hadn't shared before, a metal box buried under her bed. Inside were more documents, old files, maps, and a data chip with a blinking red light. I found this, she said, years ago, from a broken Earth ship. I think it belonged to your brother. Jace took the chip and held it tightly. Something inside him clicked. A pulse. A heartbeat. He remembered a promise. He remembered standing in a field, holding someone's hand. You're not dying, he had said. His brother had smiled. Then you better stay alive and fix this galaxy. Then darkness. Then silence. And now Jace was back. He looked at Valari. I'm staying, no matter what comes. She nodded. Then we stand together. But far above, hidden in the stars, a ship waited. Its engines were cold. Its weapons were loaded. And its orders were simple. Bring the human home, alive or dead. The air was different that morning. Heavy. Still. Clouds moved low across the sky, dark and thick, as if warning the village below. People stayed indoors. The children didn't play. Even the wind seemed to wait. Jace stood on the edge of the village wall, scanning the horizon. His eyes were sharp, trained. Every small movement in the trees made his fingers tighten around the grip of his weapon. His ears listened for sounds he couldn't explain, patterns that didn't belong. Something was coming. He didn't know when. He didn't know how. But he could feel it, like a storm hiding just out of sight. Behind him, Valari climbed the wall quietly. She handed him a warm piece of bread. He didn't eat. He kept watching. They're close, aren't they? She asked. Jace nodded. Yes. Her voice was steady. Then we must be ready. He looked at her face, calm but strong. Her eyes didn't blink. She had no fear left to give. Not after years of war, loss, and silence. I should have left when I had the chance, Jace muttered. They won't stop if I stay. You didn't start this, Valari said. You just chose to remember who you are. Jace didn't answer. He turned his gaze back toward the trees. Midday came. The clouds stayed. And then, just after noon, the first noise hit the sky. A low hum. Deep. Mechanical. The villagers stepped out of their homes, eyes wide. Some covered their ears. Others dropped what they were doing and rushed to hide their children. Jace stood tall. Above the village, breaking through the clouds, was a ship. Sleek. Cold. Made of black metal that shimmered like glass. The emblem on its side was clear, Earth Military Unit 12. It hovered for a moment, then slowly lowered itself onto the field just beyond the village border. No weapons fired. No soldiers rushed out. It waited. Jace moved toward it alone. Valari tried to follow, but he stopped her. Stay here, please. She didn't argue. Jace crossed the open space, his boots crunching dry grass. He walked with slow, steady steps until he was 10 feet from the ship. A door hissed open. From the darkness inside, a man stepped out. He wore an officer's coat, polished boots, and sharp eyes behind silver-rimmed glasses. Commander Harlan, Jace said. The man gave a small nod. Jace, it's been a long time. You know me? Of course, Harlan replied. We made you. Jace's jaw clenched. You erased me. We did what we had to, the commander said. You were broken. We fixed you. And now we've come to bring you back. I'm not going back. You don't have a choice. Behind Harlan, 2 soldiers stepped out. Both held stun rifles. Both pointed them at the ground. But Jace knew how fast that could change. You should have stayed dead, Harlan said. That was the plan. But then you wandered off. Found that village. Fell into a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale, Jace said. It's real. No, Harlan snapped. What's real is Earth's control, And you, soldier, are property. Jace's fingers tightened into fists. I'm not your weapon anymore. Harlan stepped forward. You don't belong with them. They're not your kind. They're not even human. They're more human than you. The soldiers raised their rifles slightly. Harlan sighed. Don't make this hard. Come with us, and we'll restore your mind. Give you purpose again. You don't belong here. You never did. I made a promise, Jace said. To her, to the children, to this village. You promised Earth first. I was wrong. Silence. Harlan's face went cold. Then you are a traitor. The rifles pointed at Jace. But he didn't flinch. I don't want to kill anyone, he said, but I won't let you take me. The wind picked up. Harlan gave the signal. The soldiers moved forward. Suddenly, a loud thum echoed from the tree line. Smoke bombs exploded near the ship. Gas filled the field. Shadows moved. The village had come. Aliens poured out, armed with spears, tools, and handmade weapons. They didn't shout. They moved with purpose, surrounding the soldiers. Jace didn't move. Valerie appeared beside him, holding a staff in one hand and her child's hand in the other. I told you, she said. We don't run. The smoke cleared. Harlan looked around. Trapped. Dozens of eyes watched him. Weapons ready. Heart steady. He lowered his hand slowly. You think this ends here? He said. You've made a big mistake. Jace stepped closer. No, I finally made the right choice. Harlan stared at him for a long time. Then he gave the order to retreat. The soldiers backed into the ship. The door closed with a hiss. Engines roared. As the ship lifted into the sky, Jace watched it rise until it vanished behind the clouds. He knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Later that night, the village gathered in the square. For the first time in weeks, there was laughter. There was food. There were voices singing. Jace sat beside Valerie, watching the children play. You stood for us, she said softly. I stood for myself too. You didn't have to. I wanted to. The younger child, Kilo, ran over and climbed into Jace's lap. Did you beat the bad guys? He asked. Jace smiled. For now. The child showed him the pendant again. It glowed again today, he whispered, when you said you wouldn't leave. Jace held it gently, feeling the warmth. It wasn't just a symbol of the past anymore. It was a light for the future. But far away, deep in the heart of space, Harlan stared at a screen. A new message blinked. Begin Phase 2. And Earth would not forget what Jace had done. The stars above the village looked peaceful that night. Too peaceful. Jace sat outside Valerie's home, sharpening a blade slowly. His eyes weren't on the metal. They were lost in the sky. His body was tired, but his mind couldn't rest. Since the Earth ship left, things had felt calm. Too calm. He had seen enough battles to know that calm always came before the storm. Inside, Valerie slept beside her children. They had laughed that day, eaten well, and gone to bed with full bellies and quiet hearts. That should have made him happy. But Jace knew better. The Earth military never gave up that easily. They wouldn't just walk away. Not after what he did. Not after what he remembered. He looked at the pendant hanging from the wooden beam above the door. It was still glowing faintly, a soft pulse, like a heartbeat. It seemed to breathe with him. He closed his eyes. And this time, the memories didn't hide. He saw it clearly now. His brother, standing over him. Blood on his face. Soldiers behind him. You're not dying here, his brother said. You're more than a weapon. Jace remembered the pain, the screaming, the machine they strapped him to, the light that burned his mind clean. Then darkness, then orders, then war. He opened his eyes again. His chest ached. They hadn't just wiped his memory. They broke him, turned him into something hollow. But now he was full again. Because of her. Because of them. A sharp cry broke the night. A child. Jace stood in an instant, hand on his blade. Another scream followed. He rushed inside. Nora, Valeri's daughter, was sitting up, eyes wide, tears on her cheeks. "She's gone," she sobbed. Jace blinked. "Who?" "Kilo." Jace looked around. The boy's bed was empty. The front door was open. His heart dropped. He ran outside. "Kilo." Nothing. Valeri burst out after him, panic on her face. "Where is he?" "He's gone," Jace said. "They took him." "How? How is that possible? We were watching." "They knew," Jace growled. "They waited." A noise rang out from the woods. A strange buzzing. A small device flew toward them, blinking red. Jace caught it midair. It was a tiny drone, just like the one from days ago. It opened and played a recording. Commander Harlan's voice echoed from the device. "You took something that belonged to Earth, Jace, so we took something that belongs to you." Jace's fists tightened. "If you want the boy back," Harlan continued, "come alone. Bring the pendant. No tricks." The message ended. Valeri grabbed Jace's arm. "You can't go alone. It's a trap." "I have to," he said. "He's just a child. We'll fight." "No. If they see an army, they'll kill them. But I'm not walking into this unprepared." He turned and walked into the weapons tent. By dawn, Jace was ready. He wore light armor, dark and silent. A hidden blade in each boot, a short rifle across his back, and a pouch around his neck. Inside it, the pendant. Valeri stood by the gate, holding back tears. "Bring him back." Jace nodded. "I promise." She placed her hand on his cheek. "Don't let them erase you again." "I won't." He vanished into the trees. The forest was thick and quiet. Sunlight barely touched the ground. Each step he took was slow, careful. He followed the tracker on the drone, letting it guide him deeper and deeper into enemy territory. After an hour, he reached a small clearing. A black shuttle sat in the middle, engines cold, doors open. He stepped forward. "Kilo," he shouted. A soft cry answered from inside. Jace walked in. The room was dark. Cold metal walls. A single chair in the center. Kilo sat tied up, eyes wide with fear, the pendant glowing around his neck. Harlan stood behind him, smiling. "You came," the commander said. Jace's eyes didn't leave the child. "Let him go." "You brought the pendant." Jace tossed the pouch to the ground. Harlan picked it up and opened it. Empty. He looked up, confused. Jace moved fast. He threw a smoke device, grabbed Kilo, and rolled behind a steel wall. Gunfire exploded. Jace held Kilo close, whispering, "Hold on to me, no matter what." The boy nodded. Jace pushed open the side door and sprinted into the trees. Soldiers followed, shouting. Shots flew past them. But Jace was faster. He ducked low, slid across rocks, dove behind trees. He didn't think, he moved. He had trained for this. He had escaped worse. Kilo held tight, burying his face in Jace's chest. After 10 long minutes of running, they reached the edge of the woods. The village came into view. Jace stumbled through the gate, breathing hard. Valeri rushed forward, crying. She grabbed Kilo, hugging him tight. Jace fell to one knee. They tried to wipe him too, he gasped. "They wanted to test me." Valeri looked at him with wide eyes. "What do we do now?" Jace stood, his eyes burning. "We fight." She nodded. The village gathered that night. They listened to Jace as he spoke. They won't stop. They think we're weak. They think love makes us soft. He looked at Valeri, at the children, at the others. They're wrong. And as the stars returned to the sky, the village prepared for the biggest battle yet. But somewhere far above, Earth prepared too. Commander Harlan stood before a room full of soldiers. "This time," he said, "we bring back what's ours." And outside his ship, in the deepest shadows of space, a new weapon was ready. The night before the battle was quiet. Too quiet. Jace stood on the village wall, looking out into the dark forest. The stars above him blinked like small eyes watching from afar. The air was cold, but he didn't feel it. His mind was full. Memories, both old and new, swirled inside him. He had remembered things he thought were lost forever. His brother's face, the voice that once called him back from the edge, the promise he made when he still believed in something. He had broken that promise once. He wouldn't break it again. Behind him, the village moved like a heart beating in silence. The people, once afraid, once broken, were preparing. They weren't soldiers. They were farmers, builders, parents. But now, they were ready to defend the only home they had left. Valerie stood by the fire, giving instructions. She moved like a leader now, her voice calm and clear. Her children stayed close, holding her hands. Kilo never let go of the pendant. It no longer glowed, but somehow it still felt alive. Jace returned to the center of the village. They had built walls from scrap metal and old ships. Weapons were limited, just a few rifles, spears, tools turned into blades, but hearts were strong. He spoke only once. "We fight because we must," he said, "not because we hate, but because we love. We stand because we believe this village deserves to live." They listened. They didn't cheer, but their eyes said everything. Before dawn, the sky changed. A roar. Not thunder. Engines. Bright lights broke through the clouds. 3 Earth military ships descended, slow and powerful, like giants falling from heaven. They landed just outside the gate, blocking the road. The village held its breath. Doors opened. Hundreds of soldiers stepped out, dressed in black armor. Their helmets glowed red. In the middle of them stood Commander Harlan. His voice came through a speaker. "Give us the human," he said. "You have 1 minute." Valerie looked at Jace. Her hand brushed his. "I won't let them take you," she whispered. Jace stepped forward. "They don't want just me. They want control." He walked to the gate, armor on, weapons ready. Harlan stared at him from across the field. "You made your choice," the commander said. "Now you pay." Without warning, the Earth soldiers advanced. The ground shook. Jace turned to the villagers. "Hold the line." Arrows flew. Smoke bombs exploded. Blinding light filled the field. The first wave hit the village walls. Jace fought like fire. He moved through the chaos like a shadow, striking, dodging, protecting. Every step was for something greater. Every swing of his blade was a promise kept. Beside him, Valerie fought too. She didn't hide. She used a metal staff and moved like wind. Fast, focused, she protected her children with every breath. The battle raged for hours, but Earth had more. Suddenly, a loud mechanical sound echoed from the trees. Jace turned and saw it. A new weapon. Tall, metal, like a man, but bigger. A war machine with red eyes and cannons for arms. It stepped over trees like they were toys. The soldiers cheered. "Fall back." Someone screamed. But Jace didn't run. He ran toward it. The machine fired. Boom. Jace rolled under the blast, grabbed a metal cable from the ground, and jumped onto the monster's leg. He climbed, dodging fire, pulling wires, smashing circuits. He reached the top, opened the control panel, and shoved the pendant inside. The machine paused. Then, silence. The glow from the pendant spread. The machine shut down. Slowly, it fell to its knees and crashed to the ground. The battlefield stopped. Everyone froze. Commander Harlan stared in disbelief. "You used the pendant." Jace jumped down, panting. "It was never just a symbol. It was a key," Harlan whispered. Jace walked toward him. You wanted to erase me, control me. But I remembered, and I chose. Harlan raised a weapon. Valerie appeared behind Jace, staff raised. But before she could strike, Harlan hesitated. For the first time, he looked afraid. He dropped the weapon. Soldiers lowered their guns. The fight was over. Not because they lost, but because one man remembered who he was, and one village chose to believe in him. Later, the Earth ships rose back into the sky, empty. No one was taken. No one was captured. Jace stood in the village square, holding Valerie's hand. The children stood beside them. The villagers rebuilt, not because they were forced, but because they wanted to. And Jace, he stayed. He worked in the fields. He taught the children to protect themselves. He carved a new symbol on the wall beside the names of the fallen. It read, "Here lived a warrior who chose love over orders." At night, he would sit by the fire, Kilo on his lap, Nara at his side, Valerie resting beside him. He still dreamed of his brother. But now the dreams didn't hurt. They reminded him of promises, of second chances, of a life not made by war, but by choice. And somewhere deep in the woods, the old pendant lay buried beneath the roots of a growing tree. Still glowing, still waiting, just in case it was ever needed again.